Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Ready for new crazy stories? Let's go to the first one, about OP's husband's friend's wife, who demands OP and her husband return the gift her late husband gave them as a wedding present. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. My husband and I married in May of this year. It was a small, intimate, and beautiful affair with very close friends and family only. Our total guest list for the ceremony and party was only 34 people besides myself, my husband, and officials. Our total cost expenditure for the wedding was only about $5,000, paid primarily by my awesome father, with much of the food for our party, aside from the cake, which cost $400, brought by our friends in a potluck fashion to the venue, which was the costliest expenditure. One noticeable absence from the party was a close college friend of my husband's, a former professor of his, who I also had the good fortune to meet about a year ago, who lives out of state. In case you're wondering, my husband is currently finishing a postgraduate teaching degree, English, and works part-time as a server. I work full-time as a personal shopper in a premium department store in Beverly Hills. My own degree is fine arts, which turned out to be as useless to me as my parents warned me it would be. Oh well, at least it was fun to earn. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack. This friend of my husband's responded to our wedding invitation with regret that he could not attend due to work obligations, but politely did the whole "make sure you send me lots of pictures" thing. We had attended his own wedding in Boston, which is where I met him and his new wife, who is about 15 years younger than him. He was about 50, she was mid-30s. So we had our wedding last month, with most of our guests giving us great presents, the cliché toaster, coffee machines, and things of that nature. And though we encouraged people not to, we also received envelopes of money or checks. My parents gave us a check for $2,500, which was really generous of them, and my husband's parents gave us a nice check of $1,500. Our parents are all college educated and successful, but none of us is monetarily rich. We also got a few checks for $100 or $200, several $100 bills, the usual. All told, in terms of cash, we got about $7,000, which allowed us to easily recoup the cost of the wedding. My husband earnestly tried to give my dad $4,000 to cover my father's wedding expenses, but my father wouldn't hear of it. With this wonderful windfall, we immediately made up for all the money we spent moving into a new apartment at the beginning of April, paid off a few debts, and put about $1,500 in the bank to have as a little reassurance. Now, back to the friend. A few weeks ago, we received a card in the mail from my husband's old college professor, congratulating us on our marriage, and again apologizing for being unable to attend. Enclosed was a check for $15,000. At the bottom of the card was a message which said, paraphrasing, "Yes, this money is for you. No, it's not a mistake. No, I will not take it back, so don't even try. Yes, I would be incredibly insulted if you tried to deny me the pleasure of giving you this gift. Make a good life together. Be happy." My husband and I were, naturally, flabbergasted. When he got home from work, my husband immediately tried to phone his friend to thank him for the money, but no one would pick up. Texting him resulted in the same outcome. My husband, with my participation, left a very emotional message for him on his voicemail. My husband's friend doesn't use social media at all, so it was impossible to reach him in this manner. That same evening, we bought a card and a present, and went to my work to buy an ultra-expensive executive fountain pen using my discount, and a mantle clock to serve as a present that included his wife, and also went online to send flowers and further thank yous. We wrote a heartfelt letter and enclosed it in the card, and mailed it and the pen off the next day. After the initial shock of receiving the money came the exhilaration of realizing just how much money we had on our hands. Although I'm 28 and 5 years older than my husband, I've never been one to ever earn a big salary. So if I have $2,000 in my savings account, I feel like quite the little saver. My job gives me a 401k, but I don't have much in there, and anyway can't touch it for decades. My husband, because he was, and still is, a student, has even less money saved. So with this money, whole new vistas opened up. Our dreams of a down payment on a house suddenly moved up a few years. Suddenly, we're not as frightened if I accidentally get pregnant. Instead of a 10 years away dream, owning a house is closer because we've been putting whatever we can away in the bank, even if it's only $20 here and there. We paid off the rest of our various debts with the leftover wedding money and with a portion of our friend's generous gift, and now have about $13,000 tucked away safely in the bank. Not a huge amount for some, but for us, it's a wonderful treasure that we constantly add to. Then, the bombshell, in more ways than one. My husband called his friend last weekend to try to thank him for his generosity because we were never able to get in touch with him, and also ask if he received the flowers, clock, and pen, card, etc. But instead, the man's wife answered. She gave us the horrible news that her husband had died mid-June. Apparently, he had terminal intestinal cancer, and although she was aware of his condition, her husband had told extremely few people about it. She told us that her husband had been ill since shortly after their own wedding. She explained that she and her husband had declined to attend our wedding because he was obviously thin and ill, and not only would it have been bad for his health, but he didn't want his emancipated appearance to cause any negative or sad feelings at our happy event. We were shocked by the news, of course, expressing our condolences, also inquiring about the funeral, and by the way, thanked her and her husband for the money. She said there was no real funeral, only a very small private ceremony which had already happened. She expressed surprise when she learned about the gift. She said she was aware only that her husband had sent a card declining to attend the wedding. She was clearly upset and told us that her husband had not been in a financial position to offer such a present. She didn't quite say so, but my husband and I felt strongly that she was hinting that we give back the money. She told my husband in a non-threatening way that her lawyer would be contacting us soon regarding her husband's estate. We hung up after the conversation, feeling confused. Are we really supposed to give back the money? Will her lawyer be able to get the money back from us? I don't want my husband or I to be part of a fraud. If the deceased had somehow stolen the money from his own family, unlikely as that may be, the selfish part of me remembers when my husband, fiancé at the time, visited his friend in Boston, and how big and nice their house was, how they had luxury cars. Clearly he was a very successful professor, and the petty part of me wants to keep the money, because my husband and I could use $15,000 way more than it seems like the deceased widow could, at least on the surface. My husband also wants to keep the money, but doesn't want to keep it if the man's wife really will be getting lawyers involved. To date, the lawyer has not called us yet. However, the widow did call me. I had given her my number during our conversation with her, and say that her lawyer had told her that her husband's will left all his estate solely to her and one or two cousins. What do we do in this situation? I want so bad to keep the money. It's really given my husband and I a lot of relief to know the cash is in the bank. My husband is debating maybe giving her $10,000 back, especially if she never knew her husband gave us such a gift. But naturally, my husband too is desperate to keep the money. Just so stressed over this whole thing. I'm open to ideas. There's nothing she can do. An estate only includes his possessions at his time of death. He gave that money to them before he passed away. It sucks that she wants to make trouble, but unless she can prove OP and her fiancé somehow coerced him to pay them, they should be fine. Also, it was the gift, and he insisted they keep it. So OP should not worry to keep it. He wanted OP and her husband to enjoy, so they should. 10 years have passed since we started dating. She was my first, I was her first. We always loved each other, never cheated, always together. After only 10 months, I got to know her family. She is the last of 3 children. Her first brother is 10 years older. Her sister, 7 years older. Since the first visits, I began to notice how her family treated her. She was the one in charge of cleaning the house, the one in charge of setting the table. After dinner, everyone got on the sofa while she had to clean the table and make the dishes. Her brother and sister actually got mad several times because she forgot to make their beds because she was out with me. Her sister was particularly A. She would treat her like crap all the time. Her sister had precedence in shopping. This means my girlfriend got clothes with holes in them because the sister spent the whole shopping budget on some Gucci shoes. The best one was when my girlfriend got yelled at because she tried to wash her teeth and the frickin' flowing of the water was disturbing the sister's sleep. My girlfriend started to brush her teeth in the dang kitchen because of this. When I confronted her about this, she would usually start to cry. It's like that since I was younger. I can't change anything. If I don't do this, nobody will. So I started to help her. We would do chores together. I'd take her out when possible. I was calm. I said that I'd take her out of that house as soon as possible. 3 years, the 19-year-old me finally had enough income to rent an apartment. I put aside college for a moment so I could work more and have more money. We moved out. 1 year later, the house was fully furnished with no loans. Yeah! The resentment I built up until that moment slowly deflated. Things went good for another year or so. Then the decline started. I'll try to keep it short. Her sister started dating an older guy with 2 children. They started to dump the children at my parents-in-law house. Parents-in-law started to complain to my girlfriend. Girlfriend started to take care of the children against my advice, yet began to cry every night. Tired of the situation, I surprised my girlfriend with a weekend out of the city, actually forcing my parents-in-law to deal with the children. Crap hits the fan. Without a slave, my parents-in-law realized the situation and confronted my girlfriend's sister. She was strongly convinced that it was her right to do what the hell she wanted, including ducking the older man in my girlfriend's bed while she watched the children in the living room. Mother-in-law kicked her out of the house. Father-in-law was not pleased with this. She was his favorite daughter after all. Parents-in-law started to fight every day, but it gets worse. Meanwhile, brother gets married. Sister attends the wedding without the man, but with mean faces during the whole event. This causes more arguments between parents-in-law. Girlfriend gets more depressed each day. Brother's wife gets pregnant. We discover she actually hates the whole family. Brother's wife fakes several miscarriages so that she doesn't have to visit with my girlfriend's family. They spoke with doctors when the baby was born, and they confirmed not even a threat of miscarriage. Now, you must know that in our city, it's common to put the name of the husband's parents for the first newborns of the family in sign of respect. Brother's wife actually put her mother's name to the newborn. Crap hits the fan too, the return. Mother-in-law fights with brother-in-law. Girlfriend sides with mother-in-law and gets actually told to go to hell and die from brother-in-law. Father-in-law uses the situation to force the reintroduction in the house of the sister-in-law with the new partner. Mother-in-law fights with father-in-law almost every day. Meanwhile, my girlfriend's depression is worse than ever. She doesn't want to go out. No makeup, no exercise, no fun, nothing. We spent the last year on the couch watching Netflix. She cries. She asks me for solutions. I grow tired of this. All the resentment emerged and started to consume me. While I was supportive in everything, I started to ask her, if they treat you like crap, why don't you burn the bridge? I feel bad for saying something like that. It's her family. But I can't help thinking of all the mean things they say and did to her. She cries every night because of them. I can't like someone who hurts the girl I love. It's not part of me. That's what I said to her, causing a fight between us 3 days ago. Her response was, I'm not like you. You can be cold, mean, and hate someone. I can't. Actually, I respect that. But I don't want to stay with someone that can't respect herself by putting other people's emotions before hers. Since the fight, something disappeared. I can't feel love anymore. I don't feel anything. I'm happy to go to work because I'll be finally done. I asked her for a pause because I can't stand it anymore. I was ready to break up when she said, "You were my only light in the dark before leaving." This killed me. Am I wrong to hate her family? OP is not wrong to hate her family, but it is wrong to take it out on her. She clearly doesn't know what's best for her in this situation. She loves them and wants their acceptance, which they don't give her. It seems she bends over backwards and works hard for them because she wants their approval and love. OP can't force her to cut contact with them, although honestly, she needs to. For now, I think she needs therapy. Sometimes it takes a professional to realize something is wrong. A lot of people who are A don't accept that they are. They can't handle that information. It's too real. It makes them a victim, and no one wants to be a victim. She probably doesn't even see herself as someone who has been A. X, 29 male, and I, 28 female, met when I was 19. Together for 9 years, married for 3 of those years. In year 2 of marriage, I found out he was cheating, and we tried to work through it for 1 year, but I ultimately decided I couldn't stay, and we split and filed for divorce. It's just been about a year since we did split up. It's been difficult because I was very close to his family. He has 2 sisters and a brother, multiple nieces and nephews that I was extremely close with and watched grow up. Ages range from 1 to 15. His sisters, brother, nieces, nephews, and parents still keep up with me on social media. I return the communication. Most recently, his sister reached out to let me know the kids miss me and asking if we could meet up for ice cream. I haven't said yes or no, just stated an "aw, I miss them too," and said maybe when I was less busy. It's all been difficult because all of our friends are very close. My best friend married his best friend. My cousin is in a long-term relationship with his other best friend, etc., etc. When my best friend was marrying his best friend a few months ago, we were both in the wedding party. He began dating someone new who wanted to attend. My best friend did not allow him to bring her, and he ended up dropping out of the wedding because of it. I told her that if it was because of me, to just let him bring her because I didn't care. But she said she felt it was disrespectful to ask her and her future spouse, especially after dating the girl for a few weeks. We have a wedding coming up for a mutual friend. I met them through him, but we all became close over the years. I am pretty close to the bride. Not best friends, but good friends. I'm going on her international bachelorette party. We are not merely acquaintances. We just received the invitations to the wedding last week. When I spoke to her earlier in the year, she had said she would invite X with a guest and me with a guest because we are all adults and we can decide ourselves if we'd like to bring our significant others or not. I received an email from X last night asking me to decline the invitation, stating that he is uncomfortable with me being around his family, himself, and the kids. He said if I attend, he will not, and it will cause a rift between him and his friends. He also asked me to stop commenting and liking his family's photos on social media. I responded that I will respond to the invitations as I see fit, most likely going. Regarding social media, I have no loyalty to him. Isn't it up to his family to block me if they choose to because he asked them to? I still have a great relationship with them. I'm over him trying to control my life. Edit. In regards to the wedding, I found out through the grapevine that he asked the couple to disinvite me. They basically said, "It's not your wedding. No." So that makes me feel even better about my leaning towards attending. In regards to the family situation, some posters seem to think I hang out at family barbecues or see his family that often. Not at all. I've seen them literally twice in the past year, and our friendship stays on social media. For example, happy B-Day posts or a reply back on their comments on my pics. Other than the messages from his sister, communication is the same as I have with other acquaintances on Facebook, old high school friends, etc. I am basically just gonna let this roll. If he wants to tell his family to block me, he can do so. OP's response is completely right. The friends having the wedding chose to invite OP, so they want OP there. What he wants is irrelevant. OP should feel entitled to go or not as she sees fit, without any reference to him. If I was OP, I would even consider letting the bride and groom know he has sent her that email. Not to be mean-spirited, but because if I was them, I would want to know that one of my friends was trying to interfere in my relationship with another friend and cause a rift in my friendships. Same with his family. I have mentioned before that myself, I don't understand family friendships with exes, But OP's ex-boyfriend doesn't own his family or get to dictate who they associate with. If his family didn't want to interact with OP anymore or wanted to remove her from Facebook, they could do so. They quite clearly don't want to do that and want to maintain a relationship with OP. So OP should feel quite free to do so, to whatever extent she wants to herself. Again, without reference to him. And that includes meeting up for ice cream if she wants to. OP should not respond to his calls or emails demanding OP breaks contact with various people. OP doesn't owe him any explanation or justification. OP needs to block him everywhere, and if he emails, OP should not respond.